So today I'm thrilled to have Scott Porter, a brand experience maestro and taco aficionado on Scroll Sessions today. I just saw maestro, so I think it fits perfectly.
Yeah, I love it.
From revitalizing businesses with innovative branding strategies to leading culinary adventures in search of the perfect taco, Scott blends his love for food with a passion for creating unforgettable customer experiences. We're going to explore Scott's journey through taco stands to churro shops and how he's revolutionized brand engagement. Welcome, Scott.
Hey, thanks so much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, well, good. I'm glad. I'm glad I just pumped you up just a little bit. Made you feel probably pretty good. I love it. Well, tell us about just the taco churro origin. And I have to say, I've known of you and been connected with you, I think since it's probably 2016, 2015, because I did these gallery nights in Utah County.
Yeah.
And we were looking for sponsors, and I found you, and I thought it was unique, and we reached out, and you came and you did free samples, basically,
right.
at our gallery night, because we had a bunch. I mean, we had, I think, a little over 300 to 400 attendees.
Yeah.
And you were like, sure, I'll come and have my stand. And I was like, awesome. And it was so cool. And then ever since then, I've just kind of just followed you on LinkedIn and kept up with how things are going. But talk to us about the origin of tacos and churros and where that came about for you, because you're obsessed.
Yeah, I know. I mean, my whole world revolves around Mexican food, and I'm not mad about it.
Yeah,
one bit. And thanks for having me.
Of course.
And back then too, thanks for letting us start to get the word out and going to your gallery nights. It was awesome, and moments like that where we just need one of the best marketing tools that we ever have is just getting our churros in people's mouths.
Totally.
We just need to have people try them and see how good churros can be, which is kind of a bit of the origin of I was a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Mexico for 2 years. Absolutely fell in love with.
Don't tell people Don't tell people when you serve, because it'll
that's
it'll
not
age you.
But it absolutely changed who I am and was really transformative, not just on my own spiritual journey, but in the rest. Everything that I'm doing with my life right now is a direct result of just my immersion in the Mexican culture and with the Mexican people, and my deep love for who they are, how they are, and what that's done to transform, my own personal way of being and ethos, and and not only that, but business.
Yeah.
What does this look like for business? And so I was there for a couple of years. I went back and was an intern in Mexico City for the summer. During my time in Mexico City, I had an amazing friend that we were just she would show me the whole entire city. Yeah. And I'm
from a local, you got to experience it as more or less a local.
Yeah. And she is from Mexico City, grew up here, and she's wild about food and totally obsessed. I'm I gotta find the best tacos in the city, and so we just the weekend would just go.
That's amazing.
Where can we go to get the best tacos? And she knew, and so we went to this one street food paradise neighborhood called Coyoacan in the southeastern part of Mexico City, and it's south part of Mexico City, and I mean, it's amazing. It's it's tacos and street corn and ice cream and, of course, churros. Yeah. And so I got these. That was when I had my first fresh filled churros.
Yeah. I was going to say San Diablo's more or less unique not necessarily unique to the concept, but at least it was unique to me. I hadn't heard of a filled churro before when I first experienced it.
Totally.
So.
Yeah, and most people are familiar with churros, and we're forever grateful to Disneyland and Costco, even though Costco is recently discontinued.
We'll get into this. I want to get into the Costco thing in just a minute, because it was such a good idea by you.
So fun. And but thanks to them, churros are, essentially ubiquitous. Everyone knows about them, or it's really rare that we come across someone that's never heard of a churro or hasn't had a churro. Yeah. But when I had these fresh filled churros back then, I was like, why do we have such mediocre like churros in the United States?
Yeah, like this
they
is
always
cool.
smell so good,
Yeah,
and
for
you
sure.
always think they're going to be amazing, and then you eat them and you're like, oh, okay, those are okay.
Just fried dough. Yeah.
But these filled ones it was like another level of deep fried happiness.
Yeah,
and
totally.
so I was like, you know how when you travel and you eat food and you think to yourself, why can't it be this good back home?
Yeah.
Like we have the same ingredients and we
Totally.
do the same thing. So why can't we have something like this back home? So that was the thought. And then, several career lives later and years later on down the road. And about 7.5 years ago was the right time to launch San Diablo Churros. So, and our whole thing was actually our churros are mini. We serve our churros mini as opposed to the foot long
ones.
Churros that most people are used to, and it allows people to have a variety and of the filling flavors. Whether it's dulce de leche, Nutella. Right now we have raspberry. We're about ready in the spring. We'll do our fan favorite lemon curd, coconut cream. Anyway, but we fill them with all sorts of fun things. So,
Totally.
yeah.
No,
so that was the impetus for the churro business, and on that same summer was when I was going to be several friends were going to come down to Mexico City and travel after my internship, and so I was on a mission also to optimize the time that they were going to be in Mexico City. And so that really was
possible experience.
Exactly. Yeah. So I wanted to create this like itinerary that was amazing.
Yeah.
And so and Mexico City has like some nuances with timing of, traffic, time of the day, what things are happening when the best vibe is going on in different spots of the city. And so, so that really was the birth of the taco tour that I now do with executives in a taco tour mastermind retreat to Mexico City. And that was, that's where it all started.
That's amazing,
way back as an intern in Mexico City. And it's really, it's really it's kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah.
Because the taco, I found myself throughout my career in training on how to create amazing experiences. How do we help people feel special, whether it's in a nursing home or in the airline business or in our churro business? How are we helping people feel special? I ended up using like examples from my taco search.
Yeah.
Because and I found that the taco became this totally unexpected masterclass in how to create an elevated brand experience on the street.
Totally.
This doesn't need to be like the Ritz-Carlton or something like that oftentimes business leaders think and equate to being something luxury. Very expensive or luxury. Or this means like to create an elevated experience means that I have to spend a lot more money.
Yeah.
Which most business leaders are reluctant to do.
Totally.
Right?
Well, have you read, I think it's called, I think his name's I think it's Gadara. Unreasonable Hospitality.
For sure.
Unreasonable Hospitality. Yep. I think it's Will Guidara. He's a chef. But he talks about in the book and also I think in his TED Talk, because I have just been
it's awesome
reading more about him and I read his book and stuff. But he shares an experience at his restaurant, 11 Madison Park, I think is what it's called in New York. And he had some guests that were out of town that were eating there, and he overheard them, like they had an amazing experience at his restaurant. But he overheard them say something about, I haven't tried a New York street hot dog yet. And he shares this experience of him going out into the street and getting a New York style hot dog from a street cart and bringing it in and giving it to the guest. And how moved the guests were by that. And like being able to create that experience is so like magical for them, because he didn't necessarily I think he didn't say he went up and talked to them, but he overheard it. I think he maybe heard it probably from a server, and so he made it happen. And then now those people are fans for life. And now this is an amazing story. And
they've told everyone. And
exactly. Yeah. And he's made his whole career off this unreasonable, more or less, hospitality, right? And so I think that definitely goes into kind of your brand experience stuff that you've done, more or less, not only just like educating executives, but also in the experience you give people. Because I've seen it on social and it looks amazing. And I hope I get the chance to go do one someday, because I absolutely love Mexican food. But talk to me about like the brand experience piece, and talk to me about like how that's helped people that have been in these masterminds, and kind of what you really talk about on these trips to help more or less translate it into their business.
Yeah, one of the beautiful things and the most, in my opinion, one of the most magical things about Mexico City, and the reason why we go to Mexico City, is that the culture is on. I mean, you're immersed in it, and for many people, Mexico City is maybe a little bit out of their comfort zone. You know, people are familiar with like beaches and borders of Mexico. Sure. And also there's a little bit of a stereotype of perhaps like it's not quite as safe, or, you know, people are they've seen Men on Fire or whatever, you know, and it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to go to Mexico City. It is amazing. I think it's one of the best food cities in the world. Yeah. And never been safer, never been more accessible.
I feel like just any cities like that, there's bad parts and there's great parts of the city.
For sure.
And
I mean, it's a massive metropolis. You know?
Yeah, it's huge.
And so there's like so many layers to the city. Yeah. You have like ruins in the heart of the Centro Histórico, in the historic zone. And then you have a cathedral. So you have this like colonial presence of the architecture, the cobblestone streets, like amazing cathedrals and architecture. Then you have the ancient, obviously with pyramids and ruins from the ancient people there, and then the modern and everything that's associated with that, and modern buildings, but also just very progressively modern society as well. And so we eat like the best of the street. And we're, you know, all the way up to number 5 best restaurant in the world is in Mexico City, Pujol. Yeah. And so, and everything in between. And one of the things that we go in with this clear intentionality of really helping each of us unlock and understand to a deeper degree the power of real human connection in your business. Totally. And the way that happens, so much of it happens organically, and it's stuff that we never plan for. Yeah. Because and this is the beauty of the whole experience, is that the culture and the people really become the master teachers here. Yeah. And we don't know what that's going to look like. Yeah. Obviously, we have a couple of several sessions throughout the 5 days that we're there. We call them sobre mesa discussions. It's basically table talk over breakfast. And that's a peer-to-peer kind of learning and sharing of ideas. But so much of it is like we're processing through, wow, what happened last night? Last night we ate at Pujol, number 5 best restaurant. You can anticipate the service is going to be off the charts, right? Yep. And the experience and the food and like ambiance and everything and the mole and the, you know, the
just
tortillas.
Know that going in.
You know that it's going to be amazing, and your expectations are pretty high, really high. Yeah. And then one of the things that I love about it is that it inevitably happens. They'll say, you know what? I felt pretty much the same, maybe even more like a VIP, or maybe even more seen, or maybe more special, at the taco stand on the corner, where we were just standing there, and the Patty and Yvonne were like on their, you know, they're turned over buckets. That's where they're sitting, and they're like in this on this griddle that was, you know, it's been used for 20 years and seasoned amazing, and like they're just making the blue corn tlacoyos right there in front of you, and it's been a family business for 40 years. They like say that their mom owns that corner when,
for sure.
they're iconic right there in that neighborhood. And they said, you know what, sometimes the people say, I think I felt more special on that street corner with her, the way that they took so much pride in the quality that they were providing. They were so kind.
Yeah.
They looked me in the eye, like, how are you doing today? What would you like on your tlacoyo, and just making it something that was this beautiful human interaction. And those are the types of things that are unlocked. Is that you're like, okay, well, wow, what did they do that made me feel so special? And then also this realization and this aha of like, wow, that didn't cost anyone any money.
Yep.
And so it's
more
basically
or less the feeling that they created.
Totally. It's like, how do we as business leaders and how do we restore a level of humanity to the business interaction and create,
because it's cold for the most part these days.
Well, and we have already moved, like several years, about 20 years ago. The two authors coined the phrase the experience economy. And we are now squarely in the experience economy. They were saying this is coming. These are where the consumer trends are going, and how people behave, and what we just now, and we understand this because we're all consumers as well.
Totally.
We demand more of where we're spending our time, money, and effort, and
for sure,
and resources. We want people to understand. We want businesses to understand us. We want them to be kind. We want them to give us recommendations. We want them to know us, right?
Yeah, totally.
And use our name and say, hey, Dan, I know you love XYZ. Let me get this for you.
Totally.
Just like Will Guidara, right? Like it's like, he overheard, they want a taco, or tacos on the mind. It's like always on the mind. Every day's Taco Tuesday.
They wanted a hot dog.
They wanted a hot dog, and he's like, I can make this special for them. Yeah. Now think about it. They're at a beautiful restaurant.
For sure.
Like high-end restaurant.
It's like the complete antithesis of kind of like more or less what he was trying to create, but at the same time, not. It wasn't necessarily about, at least to Will, about the food. It was about giving them.
Gesture.
Yeah, it was the gesture, right?
Absolutely.
For sure.
Well, it was the kindness, right? Like for them, that was something that they're just like, he overheard, and he wanted to create wow. Yeah. He wanted to create something that was special, for them. Yeah. And that's what happens when you're in Mexico City. It's like there is just this desire to create something. I went to my favorite quesadilla place in Coyoacan, and I mean, I've been going there for a really long time, and I just love it. It's like the flavors I long for. It's a crispy. Do
they recognize you now when you walk in?
I mean, I've been there a number of times. Yeah. And so we went in, and I was asking her, I'm like, what's the secret of your success? And she said, well, we make it with love. Yeah. That was her knee-jerk reaction. Yep. Her just like, that was her. It wasn't like, we've been around a long time. It was, we make it with love. And it's just, that is what is just so prevalent in every experience that we have.
Well, and I think it's baked into the Mexican community and the culture there.
Ethos,
the ethos, sure. And it's in the core. The passion is very much a huge part of their identity. Where in America, I think it is, but it's in a different way. Yeah.
Well, and it's so outward focused.
Yes.
It's like,
it's very
how
outward
can
focused.
I provide a great experience for you, even with perfect strangers?
Yep.
It just happens. Yeah. Like this, I was in Tulum, and I went to this street taco place, and I was just like geeking amazing. Out, right? It's the trompo, the al pastor. I love
al pastor. It's like, ever. It's probably my favorite kind of taco.
And there's he was like shaving off this huge chunk that was charred, and I love char. on Pastor.
Yep.
It's just like,
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah, please.
Not everyone does,
Yeah.
but I do.
Yeah.
Please, exactly. And so he's shaving this off. I'm recording it on my phone, and he shaves it off and throws it in the trash right in front of me.
And you just
I was like,
no, it's the best piece.
I went from like, oh my gosh, that looks. No, it's like slow motion. I'm like, don't do it.
Please don't throw that.
And he heard me, didn't say a word. And the next thing that he shaved off had some char on it, and he just hands it to me in his hands. Hands it to me. I, of course, eat it like instantly. And I'm like, well, thank you. And I'm like, dude, you threw away the best piece. And he's like, obviously most of his customers don't like that. And so I can't understand them. But so he's like he shaves off the next piece and hands me some more right there. Yeah. It's like that. It's the hot dog. Like that's the hot dog at 11 Madison Park. It's like he's like, I care. And this was like just random dude.
Yeah.
You know,
just a random dude on the street.
He cares. And I think that's what is like a huge differentiator that transforms, that's transformed me. That's really been transformative for the people that I take to Mexico City, these CEOs and founders. They're like, to experience this in a place where you're a little bit out of your context and what you're used to, and to experience it in a way where you're like, wow. It spurs on these conversations of like, what does this look like in my SaaS business? Yeah,
totally.
Like
especially
what's the equivalent?
Especially in B2B.
Totally.
Because like I feel like D2C experiences have always been a little bit, a little bit more customer focused, even before the experience, economy was kind of coined. But I think, especially the last couple of years, it's really come to fruition in B2B. Because like B2B has been so stuck in more or less their ways for so long, and not necessarily realize that all of our metrics that we're tracking aren't necessarily leading to like business outcomes.
Right.
And at the heart of it, like people do buy from people.
Yeah.
And and we're now starting to see influencer marketing come to fruition on LinkedIn with like LinkedIn influencers now. And like all of this stuff is coming to fruition now in B2B.
Yeah. Well, and it's exactly what you said. It's we're humans still making a decision with another human and having an interaction. And I think we've moved away, and the sooner that our businesses and our own mindset can move away to an elevated process of thinking about it, and so we're not just stuck in this transaction land. Transaction is I give you money, you give me something, and we call it. Yep. Right. This is where we've evolved past that in our society. For sure. And it is all about the personal relationship, right? Yep. How do we build a relationship? How do we what do we talk about? Lifetime value of a customer.
Exactly.
Right? And those customers can be B2B, they can be D2C customers, whatever it is. But how do we evolve from, and how do we level up and realize and embrace this idea of we're actually creating a relationship with someone and not just getting money from them. Yeah.
And it does lead to business outcomes.
Oh, of course.
And it's like, but the one thing that, especially I think in SaaS, it's something that is extremely hard to measure though. And like people, and the more or less, I mean, there is ways to measure it. And of course there's customer feedback and other things, but like in terms of what B2B has been so obsessed with, it's like tracking every metric. We get an SDR to we have to make a certain amount of calls to get a sale. Then we have to do this. Then it like falls onto how many meetings do we get? Everything's been so like just cold. Yeah. And not necessarily calculated and not necessarily personal. And, like that stuff. And I think I maybe won't 100% give the credit to Chris Walker, but Chris Walker on LinkedIn is a major guy in the SaaS kind of marketing space and coined the term, at least on LinkedIn, dark social, which is like more or less buyer behavior that can't be tracked necessarily. It's a DM to a friend. It's word of mouth. It's creating that experience that then translate to actual business, but can't necessarily be like measured on Google Analytics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure. I think too, it's like where this really becomes, where this really hits for me is when you think about as a business, how can I become a trusted advisor for someone?
yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like
100%.
how do I, and I actually, there's been a couple of times, a couple of individuals recently, like Chad Jardine, and like I went to him, we were talking about marketing, and he's like, you know what, I have a different area of expertise, and so I think you would be better served to talk to a couple of my colleagues that have like, you know, longevity in your industry.
Yeah.
And so I am going to like continue to go back to Chad, even though he didn't get any money of mine as a contractor, but but I now see him as someone that I trust. And this has happened to me with a couple of other people too. And it's like, the more that we can understand that any interaction that we have with someone is an opportunity to build trust with them. Totally. And it's like when you go to a restaurant and I ask them like, well, what's your favorite thing on the menu? Or what do you like?
Yes.
Or I'm kind of looking at this one, and it happened recently. They're like, actually, that's probably not the best thing on the menu. So I mean, I love these other things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thank you so much for being honest.
Yeah.
Because I don't want you to just say, oh, everything's good, which so many people do, just say everything's good. I'm like, is that really true? I don't think so. Like, I want to be able to trust you. And I will continue to come back when I trust you. Totally. I'm going to refer people to you, even though I may not be your customer.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
no, 100%.
I just think that the more we can help Clay Christensen talked about the job to be done, right?
I love Clay.
I know.
It's a bummer. It's a bummer he's not around still.
I know.
For sure.
He's a brilliant man. Great, amazing heart.
Yeah.
The job to be done. If we could, you know, someone's coming to you with a job. People come to us for catering and to do an unlimited mini churros at their event.
Yeah.
And if for whatever reason it doesn't work out or our price point isn't in alignment with their budget, like we'll refer them to, I mean, we used to refer them to Costco and they're like, well, we weren't hoping to spend that much. Yeah. And they're like, well, you could go to Costco and get some churros. There's other things. Like, how can we help you get your job done? Yeah. You know, your job is to get catering for your wedding or for your business party. So how can we become a trusted advisor? Because guess what? At some point in the future, you're going to remember that. Yep. And you're going to be like, wow, they were really nice and actually helped me do what I needed to get done.
100%. You know? Well, and I think in the wedding business, because I used to be a wedding photographer. I say that, but I still shoot weddings on occasion.
Oh, awesome.
But like I don't think I ever was at a wedding where you were particularly there, but you had people that were definitely there running a booth, doing churros at weddings. And I think the interesting thing about the wedding business in general, because it's a little unique, especially here in Utah, because it's the wedding capital of the world. More people get married here every year than any other place in the entire world, which is insane. But like it allows for a lot of interaction and experiences. And I like over my career before doing marketing, like I've shot a little over 200 weddings now. And we've experienced a full gamut. And one thing I realize is that, at least as some kind of like core vendors, we have relationships with a lot of other vendors, right? So if you can establish a really good relationship with a bride or a groom at the beginning of their journey to maybe find a photographer, and you hand them all of these things, like it giving them that brand experience, more or less, becoming that trusted advisor. It's like, yeah, we've seen it all. You know, we've literally seen it all. Right. Here's some of our best recommendations. Here's some amazing people to work with. Yeah. And people are blown away by that. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like having, again, it's the hot dog, right? Yeah. It's like and it's one of the things I love about the taco experience is that, you know, I'm obsessed with brand and customer experience, so I can never take those glasses off. So everywhere I go, I'm like, so the taco experience, when they have toothpicks out, when there's like, they're anticipating, they're knowing that I'm going to get cilantro stuck in my teeth.
Yep.
You know what
100%.
I mean? And so they're anticipating that that's happening. The limes are already there. When I go to a Mexican place and I have to ask for limes for my tacos,
it's like,
I'm like, who is sleeping at the switch here?
Yes,
Because
no kidding.
like this is, you have to have limes on tacos.
Yep, 100%.
And so it's there's just like that forethought of anticipating someone's needs.
Yeah.
And then what are we doing as a business to not just anticipate the needs, but put those systems and structure in place to create these moments of magic? Like in Will's case, to go out and get the hot dog, well, someone needed to be okay with that. I mean, I'm not sure if he was the boss at the time, but whether or not he was like, let's say he wasn't, if he needed to feel empowered, and that culture needed to be built internally, that was okay.
Yes. 100%.
Like I have some
From the very
amazing
beginning.
experiences about Trader Joe's too, that are just like insane, right? There's this one time I went to Trader Joe's. It's kind of a 3-part like trifecta here.
Yeah.
So I went to Trader Joe's in Trolley, close to downtown.
Yep, I've been there.
And I'm, I love their plantain chips, so I'm over there in that snack aisle, right? Yep. And I'm looking at these coconut crispy things that were new. I was like, picked up the package. I was kind of studying it. This guy that was stocking the shelves says, "Hey, have you tried those before?" And I said, "No." He's like, "Well, open them up and give them a try." And I'm like, all right.
You're like, I've never done this in a grocery store before.
I'm like, okay, great. And so I open it up and I try them. I pop a couple, and they're delicious. I'm like, these would be great in the morning with my Greek yogurt. I'm like, grab a couple packages and I go to purchase them, right? I'm walking out. As I'm walking away, the manager crosses my path and I hear him say to the guy, and he says, "Hey, Alec, there's one of our customers has a flat tire can you go help her change her tire, please?" And he's like, "Oh, sure." So he like stops what he's doing, puts it down, and like basically like skips out to go like help her change her flat tire. And I'm like, what is going on here? Who is this guy? And this just exposes so much to me about what's going on behind the scenes at Trader Joe's. Yeah. Like the culture that they've established, the standards that they've set, and how they recruit, the trust. Exactly. Yeah. And so then I like buy him, and I'm that guy. And so I I go out to the parking lot, and I track him down, and I find him like he's down there on his knees, like changing the tire, and big old smile on his face. And I said, "Alec, what is this all about?" Yeah. And he just brushed it off in like the most Trader Joe's sort of way. He's like, "No, this is just what we do at Trader Joe's." Yeah.
You're like, wow, it's totally
this is
different.
Just what you do. Imagine a world where all of the businesses that we interact with, and not just businesses, but everywhere where we go, and people that we interact with, where it's like we have that mentality of like we just take care of people.
Totally.
It's because of things like this that when I'm speaking, I say, "Who loves Trader Joe's?" And people are like, one hand, and they're like, "I do," and people are like clapping, whatever.
And people that love Trader Joe's love Trader Joe's.
And I say, okay, so why? So tell me, how many grocery stores are between your house and Trader Joe's? And they're like counting, like 10, 12, whatever. They're like going through. I'm like, you passed 12 grocery stores to go to Trader Joe's.
And not only that, but you're paying a premium too.
For sure. Yeah. Some things are less expensive, but yes, there's a premium. And they love it. It's because they care. They recently announced, Trader Joe's recently announced that they will never do self-checkout.
Interesting.
Because they want that human interaction.
Yeah, totally. Well, and their whole store is that way. And it's from not only the products that they curate, the experience that they curate, but also like, I mean, down to the hand painted signs. Like
For
they have
sure.
somebody on
Well,
staff.
and it's customized, right?
Yeah,
So like
everything's custom.
you're in Salt Lake and they have University of Utah stuff and Westminster College on the way to the restrooms. It's just like it feels local. It feels special.
Totally.
And here's like this punctuated it. So like I've learned so much from this example. So I'm telling this story. Emily Smith comes up to me after a presentation. She's like, "You're never going to believe what happened to me at Trader Joe's." I'm like, "Okay, try me." And so she said, we were at checkout and I was there with my husband and they asked, like they always do, "How was your day?" And what do we respond, right? We're like, good, fine, it's whatever. Fine. Yeah. And Emily said, "But I decided to actually tell them what happened." And so she said, "Well, actually, we bought a car today." And so without skipping a beat, the cashier reaches around behind them, grabs a bouquet of flowers, fresh flowers, and says, "Congratulations." And hands them a fresh bouquet of flowers. That's right there. That's
amazing. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
To me, like there's so much there. Like, first of all, that, that employee knew that was okay.
Yes.
was and obviously trained, and that was and was actually present and listening, and so celebrating the person in front of you.
And the flowers were probably there for that specific purpose.
Possibly,
I would assume.
I mean, I'm sure they wanted to sell them.
Yeah, but I'm sure that much thought would have gone into it.
For sure, And then also, someone, I imagine a conversation with the CFO. Like back in Monrovia, California, of like, okay, so we're going to empower thousands of our line workers
to give stuff away
for free. Yeah. Are we really okay with that? And I think like that's when leadership has made the paradigm shift. Of like, we're building relationships that are lifelong. We are creating fans. We are empowering our team. Also, from the internal perspective, that you build that type of culture, your team feels amazing. I mean,
the psychological safety has to like absolutely exist in
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
And so what does Emily do? She's walking out. She takes a picture of her Trader Joe's bag with the flowers in it. She just spent who knows how much money on a car. Yeah. Tens and tens of thousands of dollars on a car. That's the picture that she posts on the day she spent that much money on a car.
Totally. Because
it was about the human connection. Someone did something unexpectedly nice, unreasonably nice.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And it touched her.
Sure.
It brought like this moment of like, oh my gosh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
And we all love to feel like that.
Yeah.
And no matter what is happening with AI or machine learning or however technically advanced our world gets, we are all still going to be humans interacting with other humans.
Yeah, and that's never going to go away.
And that's so amazing,
Yeah, totally.
I mean, and so here's the extra. So that's kind of like Alec was good, Emily is better, and here's even best. Okay. Right?
Yeah, part 3.
So I'm scrolling through Facebook one day, and I am looking through, and I see pictures. I see this picture of flowers and Trader Joe's sign again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, really? Here we go again. This was like months later. I like stop at the post and I read it, and it's my friend is saying, "I'm so impressed with the kindness that was shown to me by Trader Joe's team today." On checkout, they asked how I was doing, and I said, or what plans I had for the weekend. She said, "Well, I'm actually going to my father's funeral," and they said they were so sorry for my loss, and then I left the store, and as I was loading the groceries in my car, a Trader Joe's employee came running out to my car with a bouquet of flowers, and said that I had some unfortunate news recently.
Yeah.
And hopefully this brightened my day. And so to me, that everything that we talked about the other examples, like, still holds true.
Totally.
This to me is now this is why people bypass 12 grocery stores to get to Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
Is because they care and it is consistent. Like that was what I mean, was a different Trader Joe's in a different city, in a different, there's a consistency with which they are creating and crafting these beautiful experiences for people.
Totally.
That are not like, I mean, yes, you can say, well, that's an expense on their side. Sure. But they have calculated, I'm sure they've done so many studies and research and whatever, that those pay dividends in the future. And
Massive
not only
dividends.
that, it's like, yes, we can talk about all of the, when you create a positive customer experience, your customers will spend 140% more. They're going to refer people, like the hot dog person, in Will's example, and all of those, like that will happen in all of those things.
Yep.
But there's a little bit more at play here that I think each of us can embrace as this. We have an opportunity and even, I think, a responsibility to make an impact for good in the world. And that's, we can do that.
Totally.
With the culture that we're creating internally at our businesses and how we actually bring that to life. Because it's easy for us to come up with really beautiful words that we frame and put on the wall and say, this is what we believe in.
Yeah.
But how do we make this fully integrated into the hearts and minds and fully embraced by all of our team at every level, at every touch point, every day?
Yeah.
And that's why this consistency of the Trader Joe's experience is so poignant to me, is that it wasn't just a one-off, well, that's really cool, flowers, whatever, once, but it's like, no, they keep doing it. It's my pleasure, right?
Yep.
At Chick-fil-A, right?
Yeah, it's
like,
the
no matter
brand
where you
experience.
are, it's the way. And so when Alex says, oh, this is just what we do at Trader Joe's.
He literally means it.
Right.
Yeah.
So what is your company's way?
Yeah.
What do we do at San Diablo? What is our thing that people say, oh, well, we're just celebrating your I mean,
Your
we have
marriage,
this
your
one
event, of our team members, we got some feedback and they're like, we love the churros. They were so amazing. And we were so impressed with Colin, who actually he named a churro filling flavor after our son's birthday. It was his birthday party and he called it the Ryland Delight, and it was a special filling combination that he made. And that made that like a highlight. Yeah,
I mean, the
totally.
kid he was 8 years old and
It's
he
like,
felt
this is
like,
special to me.
and we've never said to our team, okay, listen, if an 8-year-old has a birthday party and you're going to it, like make sure and name a churro after,
he just did it. Yeah.
He just did it because that is the San Diablo way. We want to create, one of our values is interaction, not transaction. Anyone can sling churros. Anyone can make churros and give them to people. We want to create an interaction that's memorable and special and different. And so I think that's the opportunity that we have in business and in life is to really, this really boils down to love. Like for me, that like you keep like drilling down to what this boils down to. How can we be a catalyst like how can we be a catalyst for love? Really?
Yeah, totally.
In other people's lives. We are living in love depraved world.
Yeah.
Very
commoditized, commercialized, everything.
Well, and even there's people are distanced from each other and there's lots of hurt going on out there and sadness, depression, anxiety, mental health issues,
loneliness, you name it.
Loneliness. I think that there's simple, if we just care just one more notch, a little bit more. I had a call yesterday I had to call the Sandy court because of a speeding ticket that I got. We won't get into that. And there was and I got an email that spooked me.
That's
it was
usually
like I thought this was taken care of.
Yeah.
And I got this email, and so I called, and she was the nicest ever. And you
especially
don't
for that-
anticipate
yeah,
that
especially for
from
that
government.
yeah, it's like a very cold interaction usually.
And like exactly, courts or whatever. It's just like very like this is the way it is, and they don't care. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. We just recently upgraded our system. That email went out erroneously, so please don't worry about anything. I'm so sorry. Is there anything else I can help you with? And I was just like, well, first of all, it was unexpectedly nice because you almost like go in like with your guard up and you feel like, wait, I got to fight for, you know,
I got
to
to fight
figure
for
this
myself.
out.
Yeah.
And so she was overly nice. And I hung up the phone and I was thinking, I thanked her obviously. And I said, and I just took a minute to recognize what I was feeling after that call. And I was like, I actually feel happy. Like, of course, like nothing was wrong. So that's helpful.
Yeah.
But she was overly nice and unexpectedly nice, unreasonably nice. And I realized that we just have so many micro interactions every day that we can choose to be, an agent for positivity, for love. What if she doesn't know what's going on in my personal life and what type of things are, battles that I'm fighting internally when I get on that call with her?
Yeah, for sure.
She could be really mean, and I'm like, maybe that could have been my last call on earth.
Yeah.
You know,
totally.
and I was like so depressed. I'm like, I get this email, like, and that was like the straw that broke the camel's back.
sure.
And I'm like, everyone hates me. Everything's going wrong. Like nothing's working out in life.
Yeah.
And then she was rude, and who knows what could have happened.
Yeah.
And so the flip side of that is that we can be a light. We can be that positive,
Totally.
agent of love and of care and of just what I like to think of as just being human, like humanizing the experience that you create.
Yeah, 100%. No, I love that. I think two quick examples on my end. I think one, Logan Mallory. I don't know if you know Logan. So I was so impressed, and I followed him for a long time on LinkedIn. He was a recent guest too.
Cool.
And my first interaction in real life with him, I saw him at a little meetup at, I think it was Kiln in Lehigh.
Sure.
And I went up to him, and he said like, hi Dan. First of all, he called me by name. He didn't.
Impressive.
And that he recognized my face, and then he said, what's a problem that you're experiencing right now in your business, and how can I help? Like, that's the first thing that came out of his mouth after he said, hi, Dan, and I'm just like, I was kind of taken aback by that because I was like, one, I've never had somebody just say that, and I'm like, I'm gonna steal that now, Logan. But I like it's very human, but it's also like so. I don't know. It's hard to describe the experience, but I'll always remember that.
Well, and it sounds like he also just became a trusted advisor.
Yeah,
in
immediately,
that moment, instantly.
Immediately, set himself up for that. So that's one that that's always stuck with me. And then two, Shane and I, especially in the last 2 years, we've really honed in with our team that we are not a digital marketing agency. We are a customer service agency. Because as a marketing agency, your clients are also your bosses, more or less. I mean, that's kind of how it turns into a lot of the times. And so we really do pride ourselves on our customer experience, and we feel like it's really, really good. But I think especially when you're people facing, in which is almost every role, at more or less an agency, or when you're in marketing, you're interfacing with people all the time, all day long. That's all you do. Be human. Take the extra second, to be nice, to treat someone as you want to be treated. It's crazy that we have to say that these days, but take the extra second to do that, because it's going to go so much further. And even if it doesn't, because you can't control how somebody's going to react to you, you can only control yourself.
Yep.
And so but if you can control that and that experience of yourself, it will help yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And not only benefit that person, but at the deep part of yourself, it's going to help you.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, it's just like that is, and I think it becomes even more important when you are, when you're building, you're like, as soon as you recognize that you're not just like transacting, right? That you're actually building a life relationship with this person.
Totally.
That may mean that they become a client, and it may mean that they're not.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but at the very least, you were human with that person.
Exactly.
And you treated them with respect. And, if they forget it, so what? But if, hopefully they do remember it.
Yeah, I mean that would be the goal, or it's just it's the classic. They may forget what you say, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. How do we embrace that in business?
Totally.
As like really one of our, to me, that is, and the whole reason I got obsessed with all of this when I was first running a nursing home was because it's like we didn't have money to dedicate and allocate to any sort of marketing efforts.
For sure.
We had to create. So I was thinking like, well, what if we created an experience that's so stand out, that's so different and special that people can't help but talk about it?
Yeah.
Doctors, patients, families, residents themselves, nurses at the hospital, discharge planners. And that's what you're saying. It's like, how do we like, I believe that our biggest marketing tool can be the creation of this humanized brand experience.
Totally.
Of the more that we treat each other with kindness and as humans that we are, that will be the thing that can be our biggest competitive advantage and our best, most effective marketing tool.
100%.
Strategy, really.
Well, yeah, strategy at its core front, but like, obviously, like there's a ton of execution that goes in.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, to maybe wrap it up, what is like your one piece of advice for someone that is trying to pull in brand experience? Like where's the first place that they're going to start?
Yeah.
To do it.
Absolutely. When I work with businesses on a consulting basis, we always talk about the foundation and starting out with this phase one component of like, first of all, you need to understand and identify what your brand is, your brand DNA, your vision, mission, values.
Yeah.
If you don't understand that, you're going to be wandering. Your messaging will wander. Your team won't know exactly what's going on. You won't have a North Star to guide all of the expectations of every function of your business if you don't know and it's not clearly defined and codified and said, this is who we are, and
Put
this
the
is
stake in
what
the ground.
this is what we expect of each other. This is the type of experience we're trying to create. Businesses that have done that, it's very clear, right?
Yeah.
And you see that.
Yep.
That's what you see when you go to Chick-fil-A or Trader Joe's or Disney. You feel everyone's on the same page.
Yep.
And also, so that is the beginning.
base.
That's
Yeah.
the base. That's the foundation. You start with, and that really is the core and heart of everything that you do. If you nourish that heart and that you understand how the impact that a healthy, thriving heart can have on the rest of the body of your business,
Yeah, totally.
then you can start to create amazing marketing campaigns. Then you can start to create an amazing and an elevated, humanized brand experience, whether that's virtual, whether that's in person, whether that's over the phone. How that informs everything that you do.
Totally.
Everything. The words that you use in your emails, how you talk, your scripting on the phone for, whoever
everything.
you're talking to. So that's foundation. As soon as you know that, then you're
That's
off
everything.
to the races.
Yeah.
Then you can design and architect something that is in alignment with, who you've decided you are and what type of impact and emotion and experience that you're looking to create.
Well, Scott, I sincerely appreciate the time today.
It's
Man.
been so
It's always
great.
fascinating talking to you because every conversation I've ever had with you, I'm just like, okay, let's go to Mexico now. Let's
know,
go have some
right?
fun. I love it. Well, how can people find San Diablo? How can people connect with you?
Well, thanks so much. Yeah. San Diablo churros.com, and San Diablo Churros is our Instagram, and we're on the socials and everything like that. So that's San Diablo Churros. You can find more information about the taco tours that we do to Mexico City, the executive retreats, as well as any of the consulting or speaking engagement stuff on my website, forevervitamint.com. And so the T is for tacos and transformation.
I love it.
Something we all need more of, right?
Yes, 100%. Well, Scott, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was awesome to be here. Loved our conversation.